My name is Barbara Strong, and I'm just vice community board as well as chair of the Parks and Recreation Committee. I'm going a public hearing on the Tippetsville Daylighting Project. And the first we vote the procedure for this meeting, and Bronx Community Board Secretary has agreed to remove and or ask a member of the public to leave the meeting or ban participation. Anyone who engages in inappropriate conduct, including but not limited to obscene or offensive posters, or personal attacks, threats, or any other behavior that reasonably impedes the orderly administration of the meeting. The board's executive committee and/or other assigned committees view repeated offenses and behaviors and ban the offender for an amount of time determined by the committee. If outbursts or attacks continue, this will be considered disturbing the peace and the honor shall be so. Okay, welcome everybody. And we are going to move on to purchase. Do you have a spokesperson for city planning or how? So you're here for questions or what?
So my name is Brenna Hemmings. I'm the manager for this city planning. So I'm just here more in like just to observe this because I helped certify this project on February 20th, and I was alerted to this project's public hearing week. So I'm just here in advisory, just to not advisory. I can answer questions like if there are any, but the actual applicants are here. So Department of Environmental Protection.
Well, so our CDP like to speak or?
Great. Yeah, we have a presentation prepared. So there's handouts if folks want to grab hand out.
Light here? Can you turn the light on?
Not yet.
Sorry, it's
Can
you try the lights out or no? Is it gonna make it too dark?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll sort of progress the slides here, but also follow along in handouts if it's hard to see. I'm Amy Moxney. I'm project manager for the Tippetsville Daylighting Project and the New York City Department of Environmental Protection. I'm here with my colleague, Dana Taplin, who's really leading the environmental review on this project, Terrell Epison, also in the audience, and then our wonderful consultant team here to support any technical questions, Dahlia Thompson and Christina. So we're a big team. Hopefully we can answer all of your questions between all of us. But we'll give an overview tonight, just to remind folks, this discussion is on a component of a much larger project. So the Tippetsville Daylighting Project is a project that I'm going to give an overview of just so you have that frame of reference. But tonight's hearing is really about a specific land use action and easement acquisition on a Metro North yard that's part of the project. So we'll really hone in on the details of that component as we go through the slides. So you can advance, just to kind of give folks an overview of DEP's mission. It's to enrich the environment and protect public health for all New Yorkers by providing high quality drinking water, managing wastewater and stormwater, reducing air, noise, and hazardous materials pollution. The Tippetsville Daylighting Project and this component of it, the easement acquisition, both support this larger project, which will ultimately convey base flow from the mill pond in Van Park, plus some wet weather runoff, which directs to the Harlem River. So we're going to be increasing the available capacity of the combined sewer and reducing both the frequency and volume of combined sewer overflows. So it's really a water quality improvement project that's going to lead to tremendous benefits for the Harlem River. We get asked this question a lot. We're used to saying the word daylighting all the time at this point, but realize that a lot of people aren't familiar with this term. So just to give that definition here, it's used to describe the restoration of projects that redirect waterways that have been previously buried in pipes into above ground channels or above ground surface expressions. It often allows for the separation of runoff or groundwater from sanitary sewage at the source, reducing wet weather and dry weather flows through the treatment plant. So opening up capacity at our wastewater treatment facilities. In combined sewer areas, it can eliminate or reduce the problem of CSO, or combined sewer overflow. I'll just say CSO from now on. But I'd like to highlight this project because it's in close proximity in just north of us in Yonkers. So this is a example of a daylighting project that's built that you can go see. This shows sort of the progression of, converting this underground pipe into a open channel. So that's essentially what we're doing here. I find these images helpful to illustrate that concept. Moving on. So getting into the Tibbetsbrook project, this map shows the historical stream footprint. So the sort of meandering stream that you see on the map running through the Kingsbridge neighborhood, that's the historic flow path of Tibbetsbrook. We are not recreating that exact footprint. We instead have opportunity to sort of simulate the stream through land that's available in the CSX corridor. So we're not following the exact footprint, but sort of recreating the process of the stream. And so just sharing those in context here. But just to give that historical overview, the stream was covered and directed into the sewer in 1912. And the community, maybe many of you in the room, have been part of advocacy that should be daylighted for decades. This project, as I already noted, is going to improve water quality and some drainage improvements as well. And just to sort of really narrow in, the Tibbetsbrook daylighting project. Daylighting refers to diverting Tibbetsbrook away from the combined sewer system and into a constructed conduit. So the new conduit's going to allow the brook to flow from a new weir that'll be constructed in Van Cortlandt Park. And then eventually this connection will be restored to the Harlem River. Kind of reiterating our goals, and I'll go through these quickly, but restoring that hydraulic connection is one of the main project goals. The other is to reduce combined sewer overflow. So when said and done, we are anticipating a 215 to 220 million gallon per year reduction of combined sewer overflow. This is a project that's under a consent order that New York City DEP has with the state. It's under our long-term control plan for the citywide open waters. Oops. Okay. You can go back.
Okay.
Just a couple of other points on that last slide. The project is in partnership with the Parks Department, so they are a funding partner on this project. They are going to be working with us to extend the Putnam Trail that exists in Van Cortlandt Park all the way to West 230th Street. So we're going to be connecting our new trail to the existing bicycle network and really creating this extension of the greenway that will have this other public benefit. So park and water infrastructure combined, it's truly an integrated project. A lot of attention being paid to the enhancement of wetland habitat in Van Cortlandt Park, but also throughout the more urban CSX. And then I think this map is nice to show the sort of different components of the project and the overall extent and scope. I think helpful to sort of think about it in three distinct areas. You have the northern reach of the project, which is in Van Cortlandt Park. So this is where we're connecting to, thank you, Dana, to Hester and Piro's Mill Pond. And in the park, we have, a lot more land available to create some natural meanders and sort of a more like surface expression of a stream that you might be familiar with in a more rural area. The sort of central segment, it runs along the former railroad line that was owned or is currently owned by CSX, but the city is purchasing the property. We have an agreement in place to purchase this property and hopefully closing in the coming months. But that section, we are limited in space, so it's a lot narrower. It's adjacent to the major Deegan. There's a lot of project constraints, but we're still sort of bringing this water infrastructure through and also creating the greenway. The third and final stretch is the southern reach, which extends from about west 232nd to sort of the outfall that you can see on the map at the Harlem River. And this is the portion of the project that will be in a closed conduit or an underground pipe. And this is the section that's running through the Metro North Rail Yard that we are seeking this land use action for an easement. Just so folks are aware, there was a prior ULURP completed in 2011. This was to establish parkland within the CSX right-of-way. So this piece of the project has already been completed and we're building on that through this project. Just a couple of sort of engineering or infrastructural highlights to sort of give you a sense of the engineering that's involved. There's a couple of modifications within Van Cortlandt Park to an existing weir structure in the lake. We'll also be creating a new weir called the side weir, and this is what's going to facilitate flow into the open channel. The second piece is the conveyance channel as an open daylighting condition, and that extends to West 232nd Street. And then the closed conduit, as I noted in the previous slide, the greenway will be extended to 230th Street. So it does extend a little bit beyond where the open channel exists. And just to highlight that this project has been in development for many years, but throughout the process, we have been working with a lot of the community stakeholders involved to really enhance and develop this design. So we've established the Tibbetts Advisory Group, which is members from, I think, both community boards, but a lot of other organizations in the area that have been sort of historic advocates of this project. And we are working with them as well as our agency partners to ensure that this project is addressing connectivity and circulation issues, providing access to open space in the new park. Public art will be a component of the project, enhancing ecology, and then obviously this very large component of hydrological influence that we're considering. These renderings just show a condition before and proposed in the CSX corridor, just to give a sense of what that looks like. And now I'm going to pass it over to Dana, who's going to go into the land use action details, and really we're going to talk specifically about that southern reach of the project.
Okay, thank you, Amy. So as this slide says, the southern reach of the project, which is owned by MTA, Metro North, and uses it as a rail yard for their passenger rail operations. Where this action is to get the city to approve the idea of acquiring an easement from Metro North through their yard. And the path of the easement, as it shows here, is all the way through it from, this is 230th, I think?
Yeah.
All the way down. And it would be, of course, parallel to the tracks and parallel to the Deegan Expressway. And then down here, it takes a turn and it feeds into existing infrastructure. And it is upstream of this outfall. This is an existing outfall. The existing is the combined sewer that in wet weather gets, let's see, at certain time, the combined sewer sends its load, the flow to the Ward's Island wastewater treatment plant through this regulator. But in very heavy weather, the regulator tips and lets some of the flow, the excess, which includes sewage, stormwater, and now for these many years, pond flow, it all goes into into the river. So what this would do is take all the pond, or is take a good measure of the pond flow out of the sewer and right into the outfall. We do not, as it says here, so that the line here, the yellow line represents a 2.5 foot wide, high by 6 foot wide box conduit, which will not be visible when the thing is finished. It will be underground. The conduit turns to cross under the rail yard tracks, which is not to be confused with the Metro North Hudson Line rail tracks, which the project doesn't affect because the existing infrastructure already crosses underneath that. We're just tying into it. So we will be actually, I think, taking up the tracks temporarily to build this connection and then place it. So there's no disruption to the active railway. And this is a diagram that shows how the new infrastructure will tie into this, allowing downstream of the diversion to the wastewater plant, but upstream of the outfall, so that all of our pond flow that we're taking out of the pond will go into the river instead of into the sewage. And right, so I think, well, this is more or less silly what I have to say, but the conduit will convey the stream base flow and limited wet weather flow. So right now, Tibbetts Brook the brook exists. It rises in Yonkers somewhere. There's Tibbetts Brook Park. It flows down through Yonkers and into the Bronx, through Van Cortlandt Park, and into what used to be called Van Cortlandt Lake, and now it's called Hester Creek Mill Pond. And from there, it goes into the Broadway sewer. And so this is going to take a good bit of the regular dry weather flow, or most of the dry weather flow, all of the dry weather flow into this new channel, and some wet weather flow. When it's very heavy rain, the existing infrastructure that discharges into the combined sewer will still be operating, but a lot of the flow will be taken into this diversion. So as Amy said, it restores the hydraulic connection between Tibbetts Brook and the Harlem River. The conduit ties into the outfall pipe downstream of the regulator. The regulator is the thing that regulates the flow, so that when the flow is in heavy weather such that it exceeds the capacity of the sewage treatment plant, it tips the rest of it into the river. And that's what we're trying to reduce through this consent order. And the closed connection to the outfall is engineered to prevent combined flows from back flowing during storms. So it's that, and the next slide. Right, so the eastern acquisition involves 5 tax lots. Not all of the Metro North rail yard property, but a lot. And it's as it says here, lot 3264, lot 20, which is in Community District 8, and the other 4 are in District 7. Lots 50, 52, and 126 in lot 3238, and lot 12 and 3245. And the zoning is this. The construction is anticipated beginning in late 2025, late next year. Next slide. This depicts the tax lots. We're not, in the CSX segment, the city is acquiring the whole thing outright. In this part, we are acquiring an easement, which allows us to install a pipe and to maintain the pipe over time. So we're obviously not trying to acquire all this land from Metro North. It's an easement across it. The exact boundaries are yet to be defined. Is that correct? So the easement is just through these tax lots. So this one is in Community District 8, and these ones are in District 7. And this is some of the dates. We did present to the Parks Recreation Committee a year ago, almost a year ago. The basic idea of the project, the environmental assessment statement on the entire project was completed by DEP's lead agency with the able assistance of our consultant team in January, and a negative declaration issued February 12th. ULIP was certified, the application was certified 20th. And now the community boards have it towards the end of this month. Then borough president, city planning commission, we know when you can go to the city council and you could get mayor review. We're not anticipating that. Assuming those stages don't happen, ULIP should be completed sometime in July, which just means that the city has agreed that this is a good thing to do, and then all the details have to be worked out with the owner, which is the Metropolitan Transportation Board.
Yeah, and I think this is just the summary of all the stakeholder engagement to date. So just noting that we've been, meeting with the community since 2021 to discuss details on the project and on design milestones. So keeping folks in the loop along the way and even offering opportunities for feedback. We've also done a few site visits. So a lot of engagement with the community, and we'll continue to do that through the duration of the project. And this is just a quick snapshot of our sort of general project schedule, as Dana already mentioned, construction beginning in late 2025. Right now, we're finalizing our design and anticipate that to happen this fall. And that's all we have. Thank you.
Do we have any questions? About James and Sarah, let's see your hand, okay?
My question is, so you say this is starting within Van Cortlandt Park, or from Yonkers to Tibbetts coming down?
No.
The existing brook.
Right, existing.
Oh, yeah.
In the section that's gonna be going through Van Cortlandt Park, are there gonna be crossovers for pedestrians and people that are?
Yeah, there's two bridges, two bridges that we're proposing for the project, and we're going through PDC review right now, and so they're aware of the connections. But yeah, circulation and connectivity has been a
I
huge.
used to walk from Golden, literally Golden, all the way up to 252nd and Broadway. Go through by the golf course, around over.
Yes, so the stream is gonna go through where it's basically on the fast food, of course, parking.
Yeah.
So right now there's a rail corridor, and so the stream's gonna be in the way of that. We're gonna build a bridge near there instead.
By the way, the shared use path south of the park will enter the park underneath Van Cortlandt Park South. So you go right into the park, you don't have to wait across the street or anything. Leave the park or go to it right underneath. Yeah.
And there'll be an entrance at 239th Street on the other side. So there we go with that.
So we have any other question? Is there a cost to the city to obtain this easement?
Yes.
So it's one time or a rental, similar to a rental, or?
For the Metro North easement, so we're going to be doing work on their site. So that's instead of, we won't be paying for the cost of the easement per se, but we'll be doing work on the site to improve drainage. That work, that cost has to be understood by the city, and we have to go through DCAS to appraise the value of the land, but we're working through that process now. But it won't be like a cash exchange for the easement.
Okay, but it'll be a one-time agreement, and then that'll be it. Okay. And there's landscaping involved too.
Landscape architects or landscape?
Well, just maintenance.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a huge part of the project, and we're working very closely with the Parks Department, so they are a direct partner and funding partner on the Greenway development in particular. So developing a lot of maintenance agreements with them for the various components of the project.
Sounds beautiful. That's no question, with the Parks Department being so short-staffed, are they gonna be able to maintain this?
I can't comment on any of the first staffing capabilities. But what we have, working on establishing them as an MOU or a memorandum of understanding, that both parties will be responsible for maintaining certain aspects of the project, and much of the greenway and plant maintenance will fall with Parks Camp, so they've agreed to all of our terms, all the terms and shared terms thus far, so anticipate they will provide staffing for that.
Now, while you're doing all of this, is there an inconvenience to the community at large? Are you gonna be out there making a lot of noise, digging stuff, or what exactly are y'all, because how is it gonna affect the community in total?
Pass this on to Dahlia.
Because, you know, you're gonna hear bang boom bop 4 o'clock in the morning.
No, I mean, they would be working under normal, working hours for the most part, there may be certain periods of time if they need to, you know, it's right next to the highway. Like all the work is right next to the highway, so it's already prepared.
So the noise is already there.
The noise is already there. There may, you know, the contractor may choose to do certain activities at night, that it's easier to be able to access from the highway. You know, they would work that out. But for the most part, the work would be through Van Cortlandt Park or through Berkeley Place, which is just north of 230th Street, to be like the main access points. And they'd be entering the corridor through those areas, and you know, these are areas where, I mean, there's a couple, there's one apartment building, but otherwise it's manufacturing, there's cooking lots, you know, it's not, there's store. You know, so these are not places that are really heavily populated, and then the highways right there, so, you know, we don't anticipate that this is gonna have. An impact to the community, we don't anticipate road closures as part of this, you know, there.
Yeah, I mean, there may be some, like, within the park, there probably will be detours of some of the park paths. Not for the duration of construction, but just as they're, you know, various works going on, but you know, there'll be detours provided and there's not. Yeah.
I'm just getting building a little bit, she's asking if Parks really doesn't have enough money, because we've really been a big problem, right? New York City DEP, do you guys? Is that something that DEP doesn't know? I mean, could we look to, because it is water initiative.
Yeah, we are
Saying that.
we are working on we're sharing the maintenance responsibility, so there's. You know, obviously the hydraulic components, some of the charter engineering components, but people assume maintenance for those. And then some of the green infrastructure elements that we maintain through our rain gardens and biosphère program, we'll pick up some maintenance of that as well, but we're still working out details, so the MOU is very detailed, I can tell you that, like every aspect of maintenance that could be considered, I assure you we are maybe getting it in this
The reason why the brook cannot be above ground in this particular lot is because Metro North still uses those lots as a rail
Yeah,
yard or
yes, yep.
some kind of connection.
Yeah, it's an active rail yard, so. Yep, so we need to go below ground and not disrupt their activities.
Maintain trees.
Okay, and I guess we all know that in the few recent years, every time it rains, the Deegan overflows, right? So how is this going to help, would it help guests with that?
So I will say that this project is a CSO or combined sewer overflow driven project. So the main driver is water quality improvement. So we're really designing for that water quality improvement and that combined sewer overflow reduction. Dahlia, do you want to talk a little bit about the drainage?
Yeah, so So we're very limited, as Amy noted, in space in the CSX corridor in particular, so that's limiting how much flow we can take from the lake during wet weather events. But we will be by diverting some of that water, we can free up some capacity in the combined sewer. So we'll have some drainage improvements, which should also help with the Deegan, the Deegan does drain to from the sewer as well, and so it should allow for some improvements to their drainage. And we are also with the improvements we're doing in the corridor, or building a wall that should help by some protection. It's not gonna be that high. We don't want people to feel like they're in a tunnel, right? So we're, by adding bit of height, that barrier between the corridor and the vegan. So we think there'll be some improvements, but it's not gonna solve.
Right, so that was gonna be my next question. So when the water overflows in the new causeway that you're creating, will it go into the?
Yeah, so not in the.
Not in the ideal world.
Where it currently might overtop onto the Deacon, then that situation would still happen. But we are what we anticipate that it is going to happen a lot less than it does right now. So it's, like I said, we don't have enough space to convey everything, and also we're limited, there's people's buildings on the other side.
Right.
So we can't just flood that corridor.
It does through the path, so.
And we have to,
leave.
because we have this shared use with the greenway, we're not building a stream the whole channel, the whole way. We're trying to balance both needs and have a plant, space for plantings, for trees, provide some shade for people. So, we're trying to balance multiple uses. And also that the lake upstream has certain, limitations, but we do have a control on the flow coming from the lake. So that at least during smaller storms, we're limiting the amount of flow that comes in. So that it should, in a kind of medium-sized storm, we're not gonna get that much more flow than in a small storm into the stream corridor, because we don't really have that space available. But in those extreme events where currently those overtops, we're not changing that condition.
Okay.
Do we have any other questions? I have one more. You mentioned that the start of the project would be late 2025. How long do you anticipate it to take as far as completion?
From notice to proceed, so when we kick off construction, we have about 3 years, yeah.
We're assuming a 3-year construction window, and then there'd be another year of guarantee period afterwards.
Should be lovely.
May,
Yes, go ahead.
first, I'd like to apologize for arriving late, and arriving in a way at the wrong meeting. This is about land acquisition, right? Primarily, but I haven't been to one before, and just quickly looking through the materials. This defined the historic stream area for Tibbetts Creek. Marshall Parkway's stream that's been buried underneath was a tributary of Tibbetts Creek historically. And are there earlier studies that have looked at the impact there? We have pretty serious local road flooding on a regular basis there. It's really, it's not a trying to catch your question. I love the idea of daylight. I hate the idea of unintended consequences.
Not in the scope of this project, but I can check and see what types of drainage studies have been done by the department.
But because it's a common water table, I'm concerned about the impact of this project on the adjoining waterway, the adjoining subterranean water.
Good fun, yeah. So, who knows, in a few years, you may be back with the daylighting of Marshall Parkway.
Will somebody be able to respond to that? Not tonight, but Is there a way to get a response, or has that been looked at?
This is, I mean, this is essentially like a. You know, we don't have an impervious barrier, but it is gonna be, you know, an engineered channel that is designed to, is not intending to infiltrate. You know, we are, you know, create,
Or back up,
well,
because there's the opposite.
so no, like,
The concern that the infiltration from this.
Other way, that will be forcing more water into the.
oh, this doesn't change the hydraulics at all of the current system, it just takes flow away from it, but it
Thank
doesn't.
you, thank you, that's.
all, you know, spreading the water. Yes, it's.
Believe that if anything, this will provide for more drainage of the area that is tributary to, I still call it San Cruz.
Yeah,
That's very
right.
pure as well.
Yeah, but we're not taking the existing outlet structure offline, so that's continuing to flow.
In normal, the pond elevation will go down a little bit because of the side weir.
Yeah, but
So if anything, the areas that drain to here should have slightly better. Opportunities, and it won't worsen drainage. That's No, there's no way of finding water table because the water table he's talking about, that deviates over the Bronx River and that stuff was covered on that side. The Tibbets that you guys are saying, literally all the way down the hill. Of course, because you're over on Broadway is where that comes down. It's two separate water tables, because water doesn't flow uphill, right? So there shouldn't be any way that Tibbets overflowing would impact Bushel Park. Maybe on the other side of Bushel Parkway, down by where where it connects with the Saw Hill, right? But it shouldn't.
Where it merges with
Impact.
Bancolan Park,
Hmm,
where it goes into Bancolan Park, National Park.
Right. The problem we have down on this side, by the Bronx.
Any other comments,
One last
questions?
question. So there is already an easement in the Dynamic Star property for the outlet of into the river? Or is that something? Of the existing,
yeah, there's an existing easement, yeah, that goes all the way to the,
To
yeah,
the
we
river,
could dynamic start.
to the private property, there, right? So something to keep in mind when they come to present.
Yeah, we've
The
had
work.
conversations. Is the line on the inside of one?
The one on the other side of the.
Thank you, whatever. Anything else anybody would like to add? Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, I'm Jack.
I just wanted to ask how biodiversity and goals for biodiversity are included in the plans and how that takes shape.
Yeah, I mean, I can give you a quick answer, but I can also point you in the direction of more resources. That we do have a couple of slides and some of our prior presentations to both community boards and to the TAG, the Tibbetts Advisory Group, that show the different ecological zones that we're trying to promote with this project. And again, we've been working really closely with the Natural Resources Group at Parks Department. So they are advising on this and strongly promoting that incorporation as part of the project. So I can't speak off the top of my head to this specific biodiversity elements, but that's a big component of the project. And like Sorelli.
Maybe worth mentioning that first phase is about removing invasives around the pond.
Yeah.
And what is water chestnut?
Yeah.
Yes,
There's some.
There's,
some strangling.
yeah, so there's
Right.
what, you know, water chestnuts and Phragmites, and some other invasives along around Van Cortlandt Lake, and the contractor has already been awarded and is starting work shortly on removal of. And we have a few years of work where they're going to be doing some herbicide treatment and cuttings and trying to remove some of the invasives and plant back with native species. To try and, you know, restore that native habitat that along the shoreline.
Anybody else? Okay. then I have a motion to close the public hearing. Motion to vote. Yes,
Such a good question. And are you guys looking for a letter of support from us?
yes, for our executive.
It'll happen that executive.
One next week. Yes. Okay, I thank you very much for the presentation.